Okay. All right, and we are live. Okay, so we don't have anyone in the chat right now, but if anybody's watching this on the playback, we are going to be starting soon, but want to let you know what we're doing here. Our goal, make sure the camera's right on us. Our goal is to promote plant-based diet and particularly whole food plant-based diet because it's done so much for us personally. My wife, if you're not familiar with her story, had type 2 diabetes, suffered for 8 years with many of its complications, and has finally learned to master diabetes, or as we call it, experience a diabetes 180. Hence the name of the company we started together, and because of that, we all as a family have been blessed. Just to give you a little background, a little more background, we've always been pretty health conscious, right? Vegans, or if not vegetarians, for most of our marriage. And we've been together quite a long time. But you'll learn from this Q&A that you can be vegan and unhealthy. Right. That's probably the theme of this whole story.
Yeah.
Getting plant-based right. You can't assume that everyone's going to get plant-based diets right, because we know you can be a vegan, a vegetarian, and still end up like my wife with diabetes, and many thousands, if not millions out there still struggling with chronic diseases, even though they're eating healthy. So we want to kind of answer questions that people commonly have about diabetes. About plant-based diets. We're not talking about specifically diabetes today. In order to make sure that we're doing it right, because when it comes down to it, it's about health is important.
Yes.
Right. Some people are plant-based or into the plant-based because of environmental or social issues. That's not the discussion or our reason specifically. Our specific reason is for health, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be talking about. Anything else you want to add there? While I get this, make sure I got the chat open.
I just agree.
You just agree.
Yes.
All right. So Allison's jumped on. Hey, Allison, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Let me just let you know that I'm gonna try my best to look at chats as they come. The chat as they come in. My wife will help me with that too. It's going to show up on this part here.
Okay.
Let's see. It looks like we have a CDN, Christian Digital Network, paired with us. Very good. As you're coming into the chat, welcome. Thank you for joining. And join the chat by saying or by writing a question. What is it that you want to know about plant-based diets? Now, before we start in answering questions that you guys will post, I want to start with a prayer, because really, you could accomplish a lot of things with human strength alone. Mm-hmm. But I believe, we personally believe that you can accomplish so much more when that strength is paired with God's strength, right? When we pair human effort with God's power, you accomplish so much more. So let's have a word of prayer, and then we're going to go into our Q&A. Dear Father, thank you so much for everything you do for us. Thank you for your love, your care, your kindness, that you loved us enough to provide the medicine for the illnesses that we suffer from right in our food. A pill for every ill is right at the table. So Lord, help us to learn how to take advantage of this fact and apply these truths to our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So now the way I'm doing this, I'm not sure. Yeah, the way I'm doing this is I'm going by questions that we receive all the time about plant-based diet, and also questions that we've gotten in Facebook group, in our Facebook business page, and different private groups we're a part of. Joanne is in the house. All right. Hope you're feeling good. Yes. So what we're going to do, we're going to basically, we've already pre-filled these questions. We already got a good feel of questions that are commonly asked about this plant-based diet. But as you're in the chat, as you're in this live stream, this is your time to ask questions. This is your time to get answers to whatever is preventing you, or maybe you're, because maybe you're curious about plant-based diet, but you really don't want to jump in, or maybe you're a long time plant-based diet, long time into the plant-based diet, but you still have a lot of questions that friends and family ask that you don't know how to answer. This is your time, okay? And I should say this too. It's not this, this is not trust me, bro, science, okay? I love that saying. It is not trust me, bro, science, okay? The answers that we're providing you are evidence-based as well as experience-based. I guess I've been a vegetarian, if not vegan, since I was 18. On and off, of course, there's, not 100%. What about you, Carmen? How long would you say you've been, plant-based or at least vegan?
I think it was about 11 years, counting the raw vegan experience we had.
Yep. So you ever had experience being raw?
11 years.
So we have a long time with that, along with another reason why we feel well qualified. All right. Joanne says she really trusts us. I love it. The one of the reasons why we really feel qualified to answer questions is because, we've done a lot of research, poured hours and hours and hours into looking at studies, and not just studies, but studying the studies. That's very important. Don't just trust Google research. Anybody could write an article. And so what I'll say from the get-go, if you have a question that isn't answered, or you forget to ask, check out nutritionfacts.org. I can definitely vouch for that website, nutritionfacts.org. Dr. Michael Greger and his team, what they do is not only present research about plant-based diet and health in general, but they also research the research to make sure the research is valid. So very on point, nutritionfacts.org can answer a lot of questions. So all right, let's get into it. It is 11. I'm sorry, by us, we are in Portugal right now. So right now it's 6:08 by you guys. Yes, comments are coming through. I may not be able to see who you are all the time, but any comments, questions, put them in the chat, okay? Don't be shy. But yeah, it's a little later by us, but it's fine. We're 5 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. All right, so first question, what does plant-based mean? There's a question that people ask, and are they healthy, or why are they healthy? All right. Yes, Joanne says, I can also vouch for Dr. Greger. I'm subscribed to him on YouTube. Yes, he's doing great things in the world of health. Okay, definitely someone worth following. But yeah, what does plant-based mean? Well, since I've been doing all the talking, and my wife is shy. I'm grateful that she's here with me today. But
you want to push her? That's what
she's smarter than me in a lot of ways. So I'm better when she's around. So tell us, what does plant-based how would you describe plant-based?
Food that grows on a tree.
Yeah.
Under the ground, whatever. Anything that doesn't have a mommy and a daddy is plant-based.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Very simple. I love simple explanations. So one thing I would add to that is that you have to differentiate between whole food, plant-based, and plant-based. See, Impossible Burger is plant-based, right? There's cheeses that are plant-based. There are ice creams that are plant-based. There are cookies that are plant-based, right? There's a lot of treats and snacks and boxed goods and highly processed things that are plant-based because they don't have any animal products in them, and they come from a plant source. So yes, that is the definition of plant-based. Now, to answer the second question people ask, is it healthy? Well, that depends, right? Because do you think that, I'll just ask you guys, do you think that plant-based ice cream is healthy? right? Just because it's, comes from all the ingredients come from plants. Obviously, no, right? Obviously, no. There's a lot of plant-based products that are even advertised as healthy that are truly not healthy. I actually recently did a comparison of Impossible Burgers, right, to actual Whoppers, because they actually try to make the Impossible Burger taste similar to a Whopper. And it's almost same amount of saturated fat, almost same amount of sodium, I think a little bit more in calories. So, a lot plant-based foods, you have to be smart. You got to think about it. Just because it's plant-based does not mean it's healthy. Right. Joanne says, can we clarify that plant-based means that this is the base of your nutrition rather than a total abstinence from other things? I think people get this confused and think that plant-based means vegan. I am so glad you said that, and they're not the same. Yes, because actually you started off, one of the first things I said when we started is that our reasoning is a little different than vegans or many vegans. Many vegans are socially, environmentally making a decision to abstain from animal products or animal byproducts because of their social beliefs, right? They don't want to harm the planet. They don't want to harm animals. We're looking at a purely health perspective. So I like the term whole food plant-based over vegan because whole food plant-based tells us or those around us what makes up the bulk of our diet. It does not mean that I can never eat chicken, right? Fried foods and beer are vegan, right? So we got to understand, yes, just because it's plant-based, fries actually I think they say fries and even pizza is the number one source of vegetables in America, right? Vegetable intake, right? So yeah, we got to differentiate between three things: vegan, which is basically purely abstaining from things for social reasons, plant-based, which means you could, have a highly processed, unhealthy diet, and whole food plant-based, right? And Carmen, what's the difference between whole food plant-based and plant-based, if someone's still confused?
Whole food plant-based is very minimal, how you call it now? Processing the food, very minimal processing. Plant-based, you can get anything plant-based. Anything, you can get ice cream, you can get anything you want. You can get shrimp plant-based, you can get oysters.
It looks just like shrimp.
Yeah, you can get everything plant-based. So
So whole food, and this is all the difference is where you put the emphasis. Whole food emphasizes making sure the majority of your foods are not highly processed. It does not mean you can never eat vegan ice cream again. Okay, I still enjoy myself some vegan ice cream once in a while, and sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I have some real ice cream, okay, because it tastes better, right? But it just means that the majority of my food is composed from green light sources. And Joanne says, thank you. In my house, we're aiming for a 75%. That is awesome. If you could gain from 75 to 80% plant whole foods, that is great. I mean, you are so much better than the average American. But all whole foods that I cook from scratch, my husband is diabetic and have other issues. And we know, Joanne, we're praying for your husband to get through. I know he's struggling like many people struggle with making those good choices, but he's blessed to have you in his life for sure. That's a health warrior right there, Joanne. And you guys need to follow that lady right there. What I was going to say, so our plant-based diets for everyone is the next question. But before I leave that question, I want to say that if I would grade, foods, you would say the best, then you got the maybe middle ground, which is not the best, but still okay in moderation. And then you have the worst. Okay. So starting from the worst, we know refined sugars, processed meats, those are at the bottom, right? Then you have a little better than that, but still in the red zone, unprocessed meat. So you're eating more free range meats, still something you want to limit, but still because it's tied to a lot of diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancer. We try to eliminate them from our diet. That's things, even if they are let's say free range chicken, right? We still try to limit those. And then you have the yellow zone foods. Of course, there's a lot in between, but we're going to make it simple. The yellow zone foods are foods that are plant-based, but maybe they might be high in saturated fat. They might be a little more processed. Then that's where you're talking about, limiting those in your diet. The green area are the whole foods that have one ingredient, right? Or maybe two at most, that you find at the aisles of around the grocery, sorry, not the aisles, the walls of the grocery, in the produce section. Yeah, the outer of the grocery store, right? Things you find in bags, or in the fridge, or frozen goods are included. Frozen, are. So I hope you guys understand the difference. I think we beat that over the head a lot. What is whole food plant-based? So someone's saying good morning from Uganda. That's awesome. 2:14 a.m. All right, man. Well, thank you for being here with us. Welcome. Awesome. All right. So like I said, if you have questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat. But we're going to go through a list that we already made. What about this one? This is a big one. Are plant-based diets healthy for everyone? That's a good question. So I'm doing all the talking. You say something about that. What's your opinion? What do you think about that question? Someone asked you, well, is plant-based diets for everyone?
Yes, I think it could be for everyone. Mm-hmm. Give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah. Because really, when people are asking that, they're really, let's be real, you're more concerned about whether it's palatable, or whether it's you have the time to prepare fresh foods. Mm-hmm. But there are, so plant-based diets, whole food plant-based diets can fit in everyone's lifestyle or health concerns. So regardless of your health concern, the whole food plant-based diet can be eaten safely. So there is not a person that cannot benefit from a whole food plant-based diet, no matter what your circumstance is. All right. Obviously, there are people who have maybe digestive issues, might have to tweak it a bit, and maybe their diet's going to look a little different than typical other. But regardless of your health background, and for those who don't know me, I practiced physician assistant in family medicine for 5 years, a little over 5 years, and I've yet to meet someone who could not eat a majority of whole food plant-based foods in their diet. Okay. This is a big one. And I think a lot of these questions are going to answer that too, whether this diet is good for everybody. These questions answer that. So what is the next question there? Can you get enough protein from plant foods? I love this one. What do you think, Carmen? You think you get enough protein on a plant-based diet?
Yes.
Yes. You keep your answer short and simple. I guess it is. That's a short answer. It's a short answer. You absolutely can. The reason why, of course, there's several reasons why people. I mean, it's amazing. People still think you can't get enough protein on your diet? Do you still hear people ask that?
Yeah, people ask that.
Yeah,
doctors,
even doctors, health professionals. People think that you're going to be protein deficient. I want to give you a newsflash to somebody, maybe on this chat, maybe no, or watching this later. Protein deficiency is unheard of in developed countries. It's I could say it's virtually non-existent, right? Think about it. When's the last time you heard somebody was deficient of protein in America? Like someone in one of your friends, family. Is very extremely rare, almost to the point it's non-existent. We have too much protein in our diet, okay? Especially since a lot of studies show that animal sources of protein are linked to a lot of chronic illnesses. The more, even to the point where the more animal protein you have in your diet, the more likely you have dying prematurely. This is why we promote the whole food plant-based sources of protein, and you can get more than you need. So the RDA, the recommended daily allowance for protein, is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that equates to about 45 for women, 55, 56 for men grams of protein a day. You get well over that in a typical whole food plant-based diet, okay? Without even trying. And I've I work out pretty hard. I've been working out pretty consistent after graduating from PA school, right? And do I look any smaller since being vegan or being whole food?
You lost some fat.
I lost some yes, there you go. That's right. That's what we want to do. We want to lose fat. I lost some fat. But as far as muscle mass,
no, you gained.
I've gained muscle while eating whole food. And it's crazy because people would tell me, what I saw online, someone said, yeah, he be eating meat on the low. He's lying. There's no way you can gain muscle on a plant-based and okay, there are occasions where I do eat, very rare occasions where I'll eat animal products or meat. Usually when it's meat, it's chicken. But that is far from majority. If you still doubt whether you can get enough protein, watch Game Changers on Netflix. Right? Oh, yeah. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
There are people who are extreme athletes on a plant-based diet, getting enough protein to sustain themselves in extreme sports, even bodybuilders. Okay. So, and there's I forget his name, but there's a guy who's been vegan his whole life, and he just looks like, amazing. He's got muscles on muscles. Okay. So Joanne asks, how do you argue the folks pushing carnivore or lion diet? Heard that there are some prominent celebrity MDs and other professionals promoting animal-based and argue all kinds of things like allergies and inflammatory conditions. I've heard providers arguing about the proper human diet. I don't think there is one single proper diet for every single human walking around. That has been my direct experience with my patients, my family, and myself. Yeah. Thanks for asking that. So yeah, animal-rich diets, or I should say protein-centric diets, are definitely the craze right now, and you have a lot of MDs that are promoting it. First thing you got to understand that in medical school, you don't get a whole lot of nutrition. So your medical doctor is just as prone to fad diets as everyone else is. Okay. Now, that being said, if you're going on a diet that's for like keto or low carb, one thing that is good about those diets is that it automatically excludes refined sugars. So there's a lot of refined sugars that you're not going to get in your diet, and you'll experience some of the great short-term benefits of that. So, Carmen, you've experienced that. You can speak to that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your experience?
My experience with that is at least for now, I can't eat sweet things. I don't like sugar at all. Even if I try, I can't even sit down and enjoy something that has refined sugar. So it really, I think that was the greatest benefit of being on a keto for a few years, was killing my sugar addiction. And of course, my A1C came down, but the diet wasn't a diet that I could have sustained on for a long time. It was just too much.
And why do you say that though?
Because I liked fruit and, as we call it, ground food.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have any of that. And after 4 years, it was just, I guess, got tired of that, not talking about the fatty liver that I developed.
Well, talk about that, because that's important though.
Yeah.
Are there, because we want to know, are there risks to that diet?
Yeah. I mean, people don't know that there are risks. They eat so bad that they don't realize, just by these little slight changes the keto diet gives you, you get so much energy that you feel like the diet is so great, and they forget to go and do the blood work. And they are high on the energy and how much more they can do, and they forget to go and check the blood work. And when you check a blood work, you're really going to see how, detrimental this diet is to you. Yeah.
And this is I should say reinforced or backed by nutritional studies. A diet that is animal centric is linked to a lot of chronic diseases, because of course those diets very often are higher in saturated fat content, cholesterol, LDL tends to go up while on these diets, which we know is one of the primary markers of heart attacks, strokes, heart disease. So just go. I have to go with the science. Everyone has to go with what they believe, and what they feel is best for them. But for me, I can only speak on what I know is backed by science. And that's why I point all my patients, clients, family, friends, whoever has a pulse to eat more whole food, plant-based than what's popular today, which is, low carb and keto. Okay. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Ooh, you're definitely gonna answer that one, but I think I could take this one. All right. So, so you answered that one, right? Okay. And these two.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, this next question is important. Do I need to take supplements on a plant-based diet? So do I need to supplement, because of deficiencies? So we hear a lot of people talk about being on a plant-based diet leading to deficiencies, nutritional deficiencies. And I'm sure you guys have, you guys have heard of it. If you guys want to mention maybe some things you've heard that vegans or plant-based diet, people who are on plant-based diets are deficient in, you can definitely let us know in the chat. But I know for sure, thinking off the head, there's several nutrients that people are worried about when it comes to plant-based diet eating. I'll cover those. So first off, yes, there is something you need to supplement, or actually two things you need to supplement when you're on a plant-based diet. Number one is B12. B12 is really important to supplement with. And then vitamin D. Why B12 and vitamin D? Because those are the only vitamins that are basically not present in plants. So if you look at all plant-based foods, there's two vitamins that you won't find. That's vitamin D and vitamin B12. That's because vitamin D is produced within animals and humans through direct contact with the sun on our skin. Vitamin B12 is produced by microbes, present in the soil. So, obviously vitamin D, we don't get enough sun. This is something that everyone doesn't get enough of. So guess what? Whether you're a meat eater, a carnivore, keto, low carb, you need vitamin D too. Okay. So plant-based diets don't provide it any more than any other diet. And B12, vitamin B12 is important to supplement as a plant-based diet when you're on a plant-based diet, because you're not getting it from meat. If you think about it, the meat or the cow, the only reason why he's got B12 in him is because he got it from foraging or eating in the ground. Actually, that's not very true, is it? Because the cows are raised in factories on corn.
Yeah.
Right? So you know where the cow got his B12? From supplements. That actually is true. You can look it up. The number one, market for B12 supplements is cattle, is livestock. So even those who are eating meat are only getting B12 from supplements, but the supplements are given to the animals to eat. So as a plant-based diet eater, I recommend skip the second source and go primary to the supplement. Okay. There was a time when B12 wasn't a problem because we were less less sanitary. So you would get it from mountain streams, drinking from wells. You would get in contact, microbes will get into our body. But we're a very clean society today. So many people, vegans and non-vegans, are deficient in B12, even to the point where we got to supplement them within the animals. So it's not a big deal if you feel like, I'm not going to be on a diet that I got to take supplements on. Well, guess what, bro? Even those who are not vegan tend to need, it might do them good to supplement. And because one way or the other, you are supplementing it from, the animals that are taking those supplements. So, but even that being said, there's, it's still rare to be deficient in B12, So it's not something that's common, but you should take it serious, because B12 deficiencies can be fatal, if not lead you to life-altering side effects, long-term side effects. All right. Don't forget that. So Joanne says, don't forget that B12 should be methylcobalamin form, as this is the most bioavailable, and D should be D3, and also K2, again, to improve uptake and prevent calcium from being directed to tendons and muscles, which unfortunately is common among folks with diabetes in the form of frozen shoulder and plaques in the heart. I told you guys, follow Joanne. She got some good medical knowledge. Okay, so yes. Now, okay, that actually directs my attention to dosing, how much B12 to dose. So current RDA is recommended daily allowance is 2.4 micrograms a day. So you look at supplements, and most of them range from 50 to 1,000 micrograms in a pill form. So you can get probably 200, 250 is going to be way more than you need, but just enough. So if you're going to look for a supplement, 200, 250 micrograms a day is fine. If you're taking a pill that's more than that, let's say 1,000 micrograms, maybe take it every other day. Because the reason why it's higher dosing than needed is because you don't really digest, absorb as much from these supplement forms. So hope I answered that well. So yeah, there's other nutrients that people are worried about. Iron, you don't need to worry about iron more than non-vegans do, because yes, it could be a problem if you're someone who has heavy menstruation. You might need iron supplements just as much as a non-vegan would. Okay. But studies show the iron that you receive from plant-based sources actually is a safer source of iron. So heme iron actually is tied to not just diabetes, but also many other chronic diseases. That heme iron is what you find in animal sources of iron, animal product sources of iron. You don't find in plant sources of iron. So iron is actually, a safer source of iron is on a plant-based diet anyway. And there's actually studies that show that we have too much iron often, which can cause chronic diseases in a typical, developed country. So what's another supplement? I want to make sure I cover all of them. Iodine. So iodine is another thing people worry about, because iodine is something you find that's supplemented in milk and dairy products. So how do we get our iodine? My wife takes care of this pretty good. Yeah.
Kelp powder.
Yeah. So kelp powder, seaweed. So any plants from the sea, so if you're eating meat, you're going to get it from seafoods. But iodine, of course, iodized salt, you can get iodine from that, but you don't have to worry about it as long as you're making sure that you're getting it from other sources. Iodine. What's another nutrient people worry about? Iodine, iron. I'm gonna cover the ones. Calcium. Do you have to worry about calcium? No, you do not. This might be a newsflash for a lot of people, but calcium from milk actually there's been a lot of field studies to show that it prevents fractures. The very reason why we need calcium, because the galactose, the milk sugar, actually can have harmful effects when it comes to bone health. So it is safer to get it from plant-based sources, at least when you talk about calcium. And calcium supplements are not necessary. There's actually more risk when you take a lot of risks when you're taking calcium in supplement form that are not worth the minor possible benefits. And there's studies that show there's, they're not even beneficial. All right. So Joanne, thank you for joining us. And another question statement, I think, isn't it interesting that folks are told they are deficient in a nutrient and given a prescription and then told not to eat plants that contain that said nutrient? Yeah. Thank you, girl. Yeah. Like, K1 from dark veggies, like kale and sweet potatoes, potassium, right? So, absolutely. It's funny. And, it's funny also because so many people are worried about deficiencies, but what's really the problem in today's society? We have excess. We have too much, in our. But deficiencies is not something you need to worry about on a plant-based diet. Okay, just make sure you're supplementing with B12. Vitamin D is also a good idea especially if you're not spending a lot of time in the sun. All right. Yeah, you take that next one, because she's the one that prepares meals. What do I eat? I get this question. So what do I eat? Or you want me to just eat vegetables all day? So So this is the chef in the house. So yeah.
Well, we eat vegetables and fruits.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that. Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And I try to make the food, appealing, or make it resemble what we used to eat, especially for the kids. but that's basically what we eat. I just do my grocery shopping in the produce section, and then I get grains, nuts, and seeds, and that is what I use to cook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and you know, we're not bored with these meals. You know, she often looks online and finds recipes. How do you find your recipes?
I like to use Pinterest. Yeah. For my recipes, especially like when I feel like I want to eat something a different taste other than, you know, I have a lot of seasonings, but sometimes I only gravitate to a few of them. So this week I've been doing Moroccan recipes, and it is so amazing to put cinnamon in my rice, you know. I didn't even know how that was going to taste, but, you know, using other recipes from different countries really gives you an idea how you can put these spices together.
Yep. And of course, we have a collection of recipes in a Meal Garden app.
So that we're adding to. Anytime we do a recipe that is good, we add it.
In our YouTube channel, we show new recipes every week. So if you're stuck on what to eat, you know, definitely check those out. Oh, so yeah, Joanna asked you make your own bread.
You know what?
We used to.
Yeah, when I was in the States, the last I bought wheat berries and I ground them down, and I made my flatbread from them. It was very good. I had I didn't have a spike using the wheat berries. Mm-hmm. But since I moved here, I didn't have a chance to start looking into wheat berries yet. Mm-hmm. But
what do you do instead? Is, I guess, your baked oatmeal, you know?
Baked oatmeal or flatbread I make from oats and garbanzos, chickpeas.
Mm. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, but it's, to me, anything in the kitchen is too long for me. So I scrap that because I'm standing up there.
Yeah. Drying them. That might answer a good question. So, you know, when you're eating a plant-based diet, does that mean you got to slave hours and hours in the kitchen now? You know, can you, if you're a person that's really busy, can you be on a whole food plant-based diet?
You can be, but you need to make food to last for a few days. And don't look for recipes that's going to take too long. And I like to find one-pot recipes, or anybody recipe that I see they have, put this first, put that second, take this out. I just throw everything in the pot one time.
And it comes out fine.
I don't do all them steps because I don't have time for that.
Yeah. So, and I think we probably jump questions like, how can I start eating plant-based? So that's a very good question. How can you start? It's, you know, and Joanne says, that's awesome. I have a patient considering ordering their own wheat berries. Yep.
And it's so good. You won't imagine how sweet the bread can taste. It had such a sweet taste to it, you know, other than buying that GMO flour. I really enjoyed making flour, and it wasn't even fine, because I didn't have a mill, so I used the coffee grinder. So it really came out more like a flat cracker or whatever, but to me it was still bread. Yeah. So it was very good. And I got them from, what that place name? Azure Standard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what I was gonna say, if you're just starting out plant-based, don't get fancy. Don't try to get fancy. Mm-hmm. You know, like, keep it simple. Because the recipes are, I don't know, anybody needs them, I'll send them to you. Mm-hmm. But what I give 3 steps, you know, to start on a plant-based diet. Number 1, start with what you already eat that's plant-based. So very simple. Make a list, write down of all the foods you eat right now. Oatmeal, maybe eat oatmeal. Guess what? That's plant-based, right? What's another part?
What is helpful too is your favorite recipes. Look to see how you can make them plant-based.
Well, that's part of the list. So going in order, number 1 is starting with what you know already, right? That you're already making, you know, maybe like, you know, cereals or oatmeal, things like that. That's already plant-based, that you don't need to do much brain work. So make a list of plant-based meals or foods you're currently eating, and you'd be surprised. It might be a lot, right? And then second, you think of meals that you can, like you said, transition into being plant-based. right? That, tacos or burritos, bean tacos, substituting mushrooms for meat in meals. You can do that, almost with everything, So you think about meals you're eating already, then you think about meals that you are eating now, but can be transitioned to be plant-based. And then number 3, add 1 recipe a week. Now you're on a whole food plant-based diet. It's that simple. Start with what you know, then transition what you're already making. And then, once in a while, maybe once a week, you throw in a new recipe. And you find that every week you're getting better and better at it. And you're never going to get bored. Yes, there's plenty to eat on a plant-based diet. What's another good question? Here. So this is a really good question. Is plant-based eating expensive? So that's, don't we get that a lot? I mean, like, oh yeah, it's so expensive to eat healthy, and then, forget about eating vegan,
But it is though plant-based. If you're not whole food plant-based, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I get that so much.
And for those who may be joining later or watching later, we differentiated in the beginning plant-based to include highly processed foods from plant-based sources versus whole food plant-based being foods that are ready from the ground, plucked from the tree, from the bush, and minimally processed. So so highly processed foods can be expensive. If you're getting, so there's a lot of vegetarian products that are expensive. But how have you experienced, since you do the shopping, your budget or for food? Has it gone up significantly?
No,
gone down?
Has gone down. Has gone down, especially here.
Of course. Well, we can't speak on Portugal. Portugal's a special place. But even in America.
Because you remember when we had that lady who was in front of us, and you asked her if you could take a video of her what do you call them things, garoshi?
Shopping cart.
Her shopping cart.
Yeah.
And she spent so much more, and she said that her food
doesn't last long. That's another factor you have to think about when you're comparing plant-based diet, eating a whole food plant-based diet, to a traditional standard American diet. Yes, standard American diet, consists of a lot of sugary snacks and drinks, a lot of high-fat foods, but they're convenient. They're boxed foods, canned goods, things that are quick and easy to make. But because these foods are highly processed, guess what? They're not. They don't last very long. You eat through them fast. So when I was talking to this lady, and even though she had more groceries than me in her cart, she told me, that it would last her 3 days before she had to go back and shop again, for her family and her kids. Where I looked at my cart would last me easily more than a week. Because whole foods are filling and they last long. They're satiating, right? So you tend to, you can actually spend less money than foods that kind of burn through like
anytime I go to the grocery store, I always look at the person ahead of me and to see all the processed stuff that they're buying, and I look at I listen to see how much they have to pay, because I can't go and look. And I'm always so surprised of, how much money they are spending on food that is going to last them a few days.
So you have to be smart. There's some tricks to making sure you're not spending too much money. Buy food in season, right? You can also, if you like some things are expensive, are nuts. Nuts can be expensive. So try to get them in bulk. Buy them in bulk.
But really and truly, buying whole food plant-based foods, you could never. You can never go over your budget like you did buying processed foods. Ever.
There's a lot of food.
It's.
Think about it. Beans. You know how cheap beans are?
Beans, potatoes.
Those foods that make the bulk of a plant-based diet, a lot of them are very, very affordable and cheaper than meat. Okay.
I was surprised, when we were, doing our research to move into Portugal, and
I see Robin Wilson's in that chat. Sorry, great to see you jumping in there. No, before you finish, hold that thought. I want to read Joanne's statement. She says, I've spent the last 5 years trying to transition recipes from regular to being low sugar, healthy carb, nutrient dense, veggie heavy. I sneak things in like zucchini and cabbage and make it cheese sauce. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you can make almost any dish a whole food plant-based delicious dish with some ingenuity and effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, when we were doing research, you remember, you know, all these YouTubers would say, "Oh yeah, budget for food here, it's about $1,000 a month," and I'm like, how is the food so expensive in Portugal? Like, what is people buying? And that's including their eating out budget or whatever. And I'm getting here, I can't even spend 300 euros a month on food. And I realize it's really the whole food is not expensive at all.
Yeah, and of course, when you say euros, you're talking about because we're in Portugal, but even in the States,
even in the States,
where food's more expensive, we were spending less money.
Like $400 a month.
You know, so it's definitely worth. If and I don't know if anyone who's eating plant-based has had a different experience, maybe that groceries went up. You can definitely let us know. But for sure, you want to ask yourself, well, how much of my diet processed vegan? Because processed vegan foods can be expensive. Yeah. Instead of whole food, plant-based, what Diabetes 180 emphasizes in our program. Good stuff. So any other questions you guys have? You know, we only have a couple more questions to go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, are soy foods safe? Soy, you know, there's a lot of soy gets a lot of bad rap. Soy milk, soy products. One of the things that people are worried about, especially men, that they're gonna get man boobs, you're gonna start acting like a female. I don't know, from all that estrogen. I remember I was in one of my jobs as a PA, as a nurse practitioner, was talking to the other nurses and says, I don't understand how Lewis can eat that soy, I mean, isn't he worried about all that estrogen, like, and then of course I had to laugh and kindly educate them. So I'll address some of the concerns that people have with soy, and then I'll shoot them down. So estrogen. You're worried about the plant estrogen. Why are you not worried about mammal estrogen from milk? What's closer to the estrogen produced by humans? The estrogen found in milk from a mammal, or the plant estrogen from a plant? Do you see milk eaters walking around with female breasts? Milk drinkers, I'm sorry. Yeah, so no, it's crazy. It's funny, but the whole craze or fear of estrogen in soy actually was started by the milk company, because they knew that until there's a lot of companies, there's milk companies that are out of business because of plant milk, right? So they knew when soy milk started coming on the scene, they had to scare people, and so they scared people thinking, you drink soy milk, you're gonna become feminine, or but never mind the science, the real science, that plant estrogen does not cause increase in, actually, and the opposite is true. It actually brings a balance if you have too much estrogen, because of how it competes for receptors. The plant estrogen actually can bring balance to hormone levels, right? A lot more than milk can. All right. So this is also why plant estrogen from soy is actually cancer preventing. Right. So there's studies that show that it prevents cancers like breast cancers and endometrial cancers. Oh, so someone said, Robin Wilson says, how do you remember me? I thought it said, how do you remember me? Yeah. Of course I remember you. Yeah. So Robin's, so thank you so much for joining us, of course. And then Joanne says, hasn't it been found that children who drink tons of cow milk end up with endocrine issues? Yes. And one of the biggest concerns, there are studies that link developing type 1 diabetes with cow milk. Mm-hmm. And this is also an interesting thing. The American Dietetic Association says that no matter what age you are, you can be vegan. So there's a lot of parents that are worried about giving the kids, making the kids vegan, or not giving them milk as adolescents or toddlers. But the health professionals now are agreeing that you can give your children plant-based milks, and actually you can just give them water. There's an idea, because guess what? Once you wean off the tit, you don't need milk. You don't milk, breast milk is for babies. There's a reason why our body stops making lactase, the enzyme to break down lactose once we get out of infancy, because you don't need milk. There's a thought. Yeah. But anyway, soy milk, is it dangerous? Absolutely not. Lonnie, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining. But yeah, soy products get a bad rap because of estrogen. Another reason people worry about soy is the processing. They say, oh yeah, well, it's GMO, and you know, it's so modified, genetically modified, and it's unsafe, and it has all these toxins. But in this day and age, of course, if you could eat organic, great. If you could get some yourself organic soy, you know, great, but it's expensive. And studies
organic, non-GMO, because it can be GMO and organic.
Yeah, organic. Yeah, you can. So, but studies have shown, you know, these things have been tested. And again, we base all we say based on nutritional studies, and soy milk is safe even when it is the non-organic soy. Okay, there's no worry or a concern when it comes to toxin levels or anything like that. If you can afford organic, great. It's expensive, but you don't need to. Okay. So, you know, we covered estrogen. Another reason why people give soy a bad rap sometimes is because they're worried about CLB. All right. Thanks for joining in. She asked a question. Before I answer this, let me just finish my thought with the soy milk, because, you know, yeah, so soy milk, another reason people worry about it, you might find studies that talk about IGF-1. So insulin growth factor is something that if you have a whole lot of soy, it could be concerning. So insulin growth factor basically is a chemical compound that if we have excess of, can increase your risk of cancer. This is actually a problem with meat heavy diets or animal products. Animal products increases your IGF factor, and that's why these animal, when I say animal products, I should say animal protein sources are linked to cancer in a lot of studies because of, you know, increasing your exposure to IGF. So people worry about soy milk and saying that, well, soy protein, if you have a whole lot of that, can that increase your risk of cancer? If you're eating whole food, plant-based, no, absolutely no. You know, but of course, if you're drinking soy powders and soy protein bars that are made from soy, you know, of course, you can have too much of anything, and too much of anything can be bad for you. So don't go crazy with soy. Don't be, you know, like I used to, drinking soy milk, soy protein, because I thought I needed more protein. We already addressed that answer. You have enough protein in a whole food plant-based diet. Eat real food, and you don't have to worry about these things, such as having too much of any one isolated ingredient or chemical compound that people tend to be worried about. So I hope I answered that question good. So CLB says, to be plant-based, you need to be, you need to condition your mind right here. That's so true. So true. It's right. It's all mind over matter. Joanne says, soy itself isn't the problem. It's where the soy came from. Was it GMO? Was it sprayed with glyphosate? Yeah. So absolutely, you know, so, you know, it's really, that's another big problem a lot of people worry about is like I said before, is whether or not GMO, where it's come from, you know, but that is the problem with a lot of our food products. I don't know why soy gets like the bad rap, like it's only soy, but it has been studied and soy is still safe. Actually, soy, if you're thinking about a milk alternative, soy milk is actually nutrient rich, a lot more nutrient rich than other plant milks. So if you're going to have a plant milk, you know, not that you don't have to have soy milk. Don't worry about it. But, you know, and then, of course, we're not talking about tofu and edamame. All those things have been shown to be healthy for us. Cancer preventing, decreasing inflammation, lowering blood pressure, improving diabetes, helping prevention of heart disease. All these things are benefits of soy, you know, that studies have shown, whether you're talking about soy milk or tofu or whatever the product of whatever the product of the soy is good. All right. Okay. Yeah. Same thing with wheat, rice, and corn. Right. So, you know, now we all, you know, so obviously, like I said, if you really want to be the epitome of health, eat organic. if you can afford it, but we can't all. And Joanne says, oh, you just reminded me, I have edamame in the freezer. I'm going to cook that right now. That's right. You get on that right when the call's over, right? All right, we've been on for almost an hour now, and I think we covered most of the questions except for one. Did I miss anything? Yeah, the meat. I talked about calcium. Yeah, I talked about calcium. So if you guys if you guys are jumping in late, definitely rewind and watch this on the playback. We cover some good stuff. But there's one question I can't leave off. So someone has asked, meat alternatives. Do we have to worry about, is meat alternatives okay? So if you're a person that's transitioning into a plant-based diet, the hardest thing usually is meat. I would say probably next to cheese, right? So you could even say, is cheese alternatives good? So, and you seem like you said, you had an opinion on that, right?
I think if you're just transitioning, go for it.
Okay.
Spend your money, buy all of them, eat them, and the more whole food foods you eat, you're gonna get a less taste for these processed stuff, because we had them all. We tried them all, throughout the years, and no, I have such an aversion to them. I don't want to see anything in a can or that was made in a factory, in a lab, because all them things made in a lab. So
yeah, and even now we once in a while we'll enjoy some veggie meats or something like that. But
it will be outside of the house. We don't buy them
for convenience.
Yeah, so if you're traveling and that's the best thing you can have, then yeah, definitely. But I truly do not enjoy eating out anymore. I really don't enjoy it. So
yeah, when you say eating out, you mean eating out anywhere or
at a restaurant, even if it's a vegan restaurant, because I've gotten so disaccustomed to oil in my food.
Oil, yeah, that's another thing we haven't addressed. We don't eat oil. We're I should say very rarely. We cook with water or vegetable broth. That's not a question anyone's asked, but there are benefits to cooking without oil, and a lot of benefits that's probably can be a whole nother live. But to answer the question more specifically, can meat alternatives be healthy? You can argue that it's healthier, so it's all relative, right? It can be healthier than real meats, especially processed meats, because it doesn't have the heme iron, it doesn't have the nitrates, it doesn't have the saturated fat, it doesn't have the cholesterol that is a risk factor for chronic illness when it comes to real meat. But it still does have, I shouldn't say, did I say it doesn't have saturated fat?
It does.
Yeah, it does have saturated fat, but often, it does have a lot of sodium. These things are processed, so a lot of the, of course, the fiber and the good stuff that comes from the original plant is not in them. So you don't want that to be the bulk of your diet, for sure. If you want my best advice, eat them in moderation and just maybe for convenience, but not every day. That's why you find a lot of people who are vegan and still overweight, still suffering from chronic diseases, because usually you look at what the vegans are eating, and we know we are Seventh-day Adventists. If you know what Seventh-day Adventists, we are very health conscious, but it's kind of funny. You go a lot of Seventh-day Adventists, and a lot of them are not, God bless you if you're struggling with weight, but a lot of them are struggling with weight and wondering why, because I'm a vegan.
But we all were there.
Yeah, we're all there, right? And you look at their plate and what they eat every day, and they're eating the saturated fat, rich,
in the same boat.
Foods. Like I said earlier, like I did a comparison, Impossible Whopper next to a real Whopper, and from the nutritional fact source I got, they have the same amount of fat. So, these meat alternatives, gotta be careful. Just understand that they're great for that transitioning from if you're trying to get more whole food plant-based but you're still really craving meat. So kind of like a gateway drug. It's good for convenience if you're just, on the go, but it should not be part of your regular diet. If you want optimal health, limit that. I would almost even put it in the red zone. If you're looking about green, like we talked about the green, yellow, red, I put it in the red zone. Don't eat that too often.
I have my friend, I worked with this lady. We worked in a cafeteria, and She told me that she and her husband went to eat with the CEO of one of these companies. I'm not going to name the company.
Yes.
But they went to eat with this person, and they were at a restaurant that was serving his product, and he ordered chicken. So they asked him why you didn't order your product, because the restaurant have it, on the menu. And he said, because I want to live. So he's not even eating his own product, but at all these Adventist conventions, people walking with boxes of these things to the car,
Yeah.
So he's not eating his product, then why should we?
Yeah. So, when it comes down to it, guys, eat for health.
Yeah.
Not just for taste, but it doesn't mean that your healthy food doesn't need to taste good.
Yeah.
It should. Healthy food should be good. I believe that God wants us to enjoy the fruit of the land, right? But he also says, in Exodus, that he did not intend these diseases to be put on us, right? A lot of these diseases that we suffer from are diseases of overconsumption. I think I can't remember the exact number, so I can't say it, but I know it's in the millions. There's millions of people who die every year from preventable diseases that could be prevented with the proper diet, a diet that consists of more whole food, plant-based sources. So let's start to, challenge ourselves this year. And if you think about the whole year is too much, just think about 1 week at a time, eating more real food that is medicine for the body, right? And limiting the fake stuff. Okay. So I hope I answered a good number of questions that are commonly asked about the plant-based diet. That was our goal. And I hope that you guys benefited from that. Of course, you know how to reach me, hopefully, but if not, my email is really easy. It's my name, Louis. I should probably write in the chat here, louis@louisburtis.com. If you ever want to email me questions, we run a diabetes reversing health coaching program with support of my wife, who was my first client. Yeah. So if you need help, if you need anyone, if you know anyone who needs assistance with diabetes, reach out to us. Okay. All right. Robin has a comment. So unless you're writing a comment as I speak, probably you could message me privately, because I don't want to run too much longer. However, yes, if you have questions, I'm always available on Facebook through my email. Definitely join Diabetes 180 if you have not. We have a private group. Reach out to me if you'd like to join the private group, of course. But yeah, with that, let's so one last statement there. Joanne says, I hope everyone watching has a wonderful week and gives some plant-based recipes a try. Yes. All right. Let's close with a prayer, right? Dear Father, thank you so much for everything. Dear Forrest, thank you for just the promise that you've given, that you would not put the diseases of this world on us, your people, but you've given us a way to find health and treating our body as your temple. But we know it's not easy, Lord. It's hard because there's food deserts all around us, Lord. Sometimes it's just really hard to stay consistent in our health goals. But I know that you never give us more than we can bear, and you can make a way where there is no way. So Lord, please bless us all and help us towards that journey of health. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Thanks so much. And I should close off by saying we're going to try to do another live in 2 weeks. I think with Joanne, right? That's right. Man, I'm so bad with dates, but I want to check the calendar. Your calendar right here. And Joanne, you tell me if you got the date for me. We're going to try to do lives every 2 weeks about, okay? So if it's going to be in February 12th, that's what I thought I was going to say, the 12th of February. All right. So definitely don't miss that. It's going to be a good one. And we're going to try to keep coming with these lives, at least every 2 weeks. So we'll probably actually have a live before the 12th, right? Is that right? Because today is the 30th.
Yeah.
So next 2 weeks will be at the 12th. Actually, the 12th. The 12th will be our next live. Yeah. All right. You have a good night. Thanks for joining in. Okay. Hey, Robin, we'll talk privately. Message me on Facebook. All right. You guys have a good night.